You guys? Right, I'm ready for your attention, and it starts off as you see it there. Now I want you, as it says there, it's called Just One More Bounce. So just remember that bit when we come to the end. Just one more bounce. So the first slide, right, as you say, this is where you all go, oh. Come on, louder than that. Oh. Yeah, that's yours truly, however old he was, but he's looking a bit grumpy there, isn't he? I think somebody's to stop, I've ordered those nappies off the internet, haven't they? There's a little side story to this. Apparently I was £10 as a £10 baby. I've been told that hurts a bit. Don't know if that's right or not. But my dad was a professional rugby player as well as working down coal mines. And when the nurses sort of said, oh, there's a £10 baby here to Mrs. Kielty, and his dad's a rugby player, they all went, oh, hell, he must be the size. I bet he's a prop forward, or he's big, strong, whatever. And then at tea time, when it was delivery time, this little wimp of a guy, scrum half, comes in, and they'll go, who's that in? Crikey, he's made one big one, hasn't he? So that's just a personal side story. However, where I'm going with this is, it's all about having a disability. Now, there was a time when I was just about walking, and that's the next slide, please. So it's called Just About Walking, and there's that little wimp of a dad, there he is, not brought forward. So, yeah, I did walk once upon a time, but not for long. When you start walking, about 1 year of age, is it? 1 8? Yeah, thereabouts, yeah. And then, and it's getting a little bit topical, isn't it? But polio was raging back in the day. I was born in 1950, so it was late 40s and early 50s. No jabs then, and sugar lumps, etc. You either got it or you didn't. Now that sounds an awful lot familiar, doesn't it? Of virus and so forth. And the next page, before I go on with that, is just my opinion. And this whole business about disabilities, no matter what it is, and this is only my opinion, is that the incumbent, as it were, myself, will in the main try and keep their independence, dignity at all costs, and often to the detriment of friendships, usually my wife, and relationships. I also learnt over the years that those who, in the main, were born with impairments were often less bitter than those which accrue those impairments or later on, or realised that they had something taken away from them. And I just found that a lot when I was in the disability sports arena. And I get it, I get that, you know. However, these are they're just my opinions, not necessarily as it says of those of others, so we'll crack on. So polio, yes, another one. So again, it's that's me after I'd recovered, or the virus had stopped, and it left me with the less potential of walking. There was no muscles in one leg, very little in the other, but this was quite topical all through Britain at the time. But, you know, when you got your trusted packet of Smarties in your hand, you could conquer the world. And that's clearly what I was doing then. But of course what they did then in those days is the specialists and local doctors team and so forth just got you up, be active. So I think the consensus was, if there's no muscles in those legs, they aren't going to work, let's make the upper body, i.e. the arms, etc., get them bigger than they were, because those arms are going to carry them around for a while. So it was swim, 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 and swim again. My mum, and she must have known, she wasn't very big, but she must have lost an awful lot of weight, taking me to various baths. And tell you what, the nearest bath at this moment in time is this place. And underneath here is one half of the swimming baths. It was Park Road swimming baths at the time. So all the schools, generally speaking, sent their kids down here. You remember it, don't you? Oh, this was the girls' section. This was, Yeah, it's still here, underneath here. Those doors, you can walk down and go underneath to the pubs. Or one of them. But this was the girls' section, boys. This was the girls' section. Yeah. Where we all wanted to go as boys. So the other side has been filled in with concrete, and that's where the offices are and other things. But yeah, when we first came in here, how many years ago was that? 15, 16 years ago?
2008.
2008. I just remember thinking, Park Road swimming bath. You know, I was so surprised to see its function. But that's me actually swimming. I think it was a bucket in somewhere. But here we go. But that did lead to social events, just because you've got impairments, and this in my case, walking impairments. I had one caliper on the right leg, and the other one did stumble along for several years with a bit of muscle in it. And so you just grew up as a teenager, and you got together with a lot of other guys who were on the next slide, and we formed a water polo team made out of guys who had polio in the main, and we had a great, we played matches nearly every month, and we never won a game for 4 years. Really, yeah. But another little story was that we played one game against a load of guys who were haemophiliacs, which is the blood, it won't thicken, won't it? Well, we weren't having any of that in the meter, so we started to just nudge him here, bounce him here, we'll take the pants off, whatever. And he just said, "You can't do that, I'm going to feel it." I said, "Well, just take care of this then, I get out of my way." But anything, nothing really criminal happened, don't worry. And we won that game. After 4 years, we won a game. So it shows, doesn't it, not always playing fair. Gets your result. Anyway, there we go, the bunch of guys, and yeah, unfortunately again, half of those have passed away, but...
Which one's you there?
So the one left, looking totally uninterested in anything going on, so I'm the top left, looking away. Can't you tell by the nose? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and the sideburns, it was that time of year. Sorry, talking of which, well, there we go, next one is, so you got a disability, you still grow up and you're still doing stuff, and you know, I'm still with the young lady now. Yeah, so there we are.
The lovely past.
The lovely past, yes. 50th anniversary. So again, I was walking there. So was I any different from the mainstream? I didn't think so. Did what I did. Do what you do. Life goes on. You meet people, and there you go. And next slide is so children appear. So tell you what. Ooh, can you have children? Well, you certainly could. And he did. But we weren't going to have too many. Because as I said, my wife came from a great family of 10 boys and girls. In fact, 9 girls, 2 boys. So we had a chat after 2 and I thought, there we go, there's a snip. We'll stick, we won't twist. So we got great grandkids. Now, again, going on, I'm just thinking I'm just an ordinary person. I'm just an ordinary person doing ordinary jobs. And one of those jobs I ended up, because I had about 10 jobs in my life. The first one, would you believe, was being an artist. No, not a piss artist.
Exactly.
Yes. But halfway through that, I actually always wanted to own my own pub. That was one of the big ambitions of my life, and I just thought, I never actually got there. But what I did do is I became a club steward, relief steward for several years, and one of those weekends off is we had can you see the t-shirt? It says pub walk on that t-shirt, the top right hand there. I'm reckoning to fold somebody up and I've no idea what I'm doing, because we had a pub walk right the way from the top of Halifax all the way down to the Shea Stadium where we've ended up, and I think we had about 12 or 15 pubs to call in. And the idea was, I said to the landlord, if I can bring you 20 people, we'll buy a bit, that's well, at least one drink in your place, will you give us a free prize? And they all did. Magnificent, with about 50 prizes. Unbelievable.
Were you drunk?
Absolutely. In fact, I did it half in the wheelchair sport because I was doing sports then, and I used a sports chair for the long walks and for the shorter walks. I used my sticks. In fact, my mates used to say, "Oh no, Malt's come with 2 sticks, that means we're in for a bit of a session." So, he come in his wheelchair, we're in for a fantastic session. But a lovely set of people. But was I any different to most people? I didn't think so. I really didn't think so. However, along those sports, that I helped to develop in 2005 was wheelchair rugby league. Can you remember going back? I said my dad was a rugby league player, so of course it's been in my DNA, my family, and so I couldn't play the game. So this was an absolute cracking idea, cracking boost. Trouble was I was knocking on by then. The old body was getting old, and I think I got about a year playing it. But I administer it. One of my partners in crime, Donna at the back there, she helps to administer it. And as it says there, it's a wheelchair rugby league, and it's a game for disabled and non-disabled participants, whether that's physical or sensory. And we have, at this moment in time, and Nicky will tell you, we've got a Portuguese. Well, he isn't Portuguese, is he?
He's from El Salvador.
He's from El Salvador. He's totally deaf, and he doesn't speak English. Now, there's a barrier that we had to get over. And we did, really, thanks to the ladies, thanks to Nicky, using Google Translate. He's learned how to play the sport, and the boys and girls that play around him with him know that they've got to look at him to shout at him or to get a response, and he turns. But again, he's just doing what he wants to do. He saw the sport, wants to play it. Let's get over these barriers, let's get through them and get over them, and he's done that. And we're sort of regularly delivering these intervention sessions. So what I mean by that is we'll often go to some schools where there's some maybe naughty boys and girls there, and they might not be turning up every day. You looked at that, one of those slides about drugs and alcohol, and they might be getting involved in something silly. And we'll often go to that school where they're at and get them interested in something else. They're not interested in school, so let's get them doing something else. And we have, and I won't mention a young man's name, you wouldn't know him if I mentioned him, but some people here would. But he joined this club. He was being a naughty boy, he was staying out from home. He got a disability, and he just, he couldn't play football like his mates. But he could go partying like his mates, and he did underage drinking, probably at wrong places at wrong times, staying out all night. And then he saw Hannah Cockcroft win her first gold medal, but she went to the same school, Trinity, wasn't it? Trinity, yeah. And he just saw her, and he said, he said to me, I thought, well, she can do something. I weren't into racing, but he came and joined the rugby league club. Consequently, Hannah looked at basketball and rugby, and she didn't like that. She said, no, I'm not doing that, and she did what she did, raced and that, winning several gold medals, and she. And then in amongst that group of young people, and his sons, certainly 2 of them doing this, and Harry, the middle one, isn't it? Middle one. So he's no legs. But does that stop him doing anything? Not really. No. Seen him climb under a bus and get all suitcases out. Seen him get on top of the rack where suitcases should be, and he'd be up there. And that's it. And the older brother, fully able, played the sport alongside him, with him, against him. There's not many sports you can do that, is there, where you can play with your siblings, with your parents, against your granddad, daddy, or whatever. No, it's not a multi-sex sport, so there's very little. It's only age. I think we can't go below 14. I think competitively, can't we? I believe. But that's purely so they don't get hurt. But that's just people with barriers, perceived, getting on and just doing what thousands of people to do in the world. Now, if you turn it over, next page is that first bit with the team there. There's 5 of them. That's Nicky's middle. Harry talked about there. He's with the ball. Now, we can't just decide how old he was, but that was the first team we put together of 5 players. That's yours truly on the right-hand side, yeah. And you don't know the guys, but friends and relatives. 12 was it? There you go. And for all this, then I was really honoured then, of course, to receive, unbeknown to myself, it was happening behind the scenes that I was awarded the MP New Year's Eve of, I don't know, 94? I don't remember. No, but thank you. But again, there's thousands of people out there doing this thing. And that's my wife in there, and my 2 kids who are now grown up. You saw us Whitlands a while ago. And Prince Philip, I said to him, you're going to have to come down that step, you. and honestly, you were, why is he any different to anybody else? Come on, excuse me, down here. And he did. Bang you go, on you go. I was just about to talk to him about something else with the yoinky off. You've got to go away. Now, again, there's going to be an article, if you want to turn this over, I'm just talking about the next slide, please. Well, a wheelchair abroad. Well, yeah, there were some challenges, and those were, we had a bucket list, my wife and I, about going to India, going to Sri Lanka, and doing this. So we did. But there's a lot of things out there about airports and airlines and not being good at what they do, and there are some who are not too good. But I still think it's a lot better than what it's ever been for a long time. Getting through the airports, etc. There's so much more help nowadays, I think, as long as you tell somebody. Don't expect to rock up and make it happen. You know, this is a little bit of where preparation has to come in. So start remembering about having one more bounce, about preparing, taking another chance, and so forth. You've got to be prepared. Have a stuff out there. Now, talk about being prepared. Well, the next slide was, just going back a bit. Now that's my friend, and he was on that water polo team as well, and it was back in the 70s, and we did have a perm like Kevin Keegan, but I think that was just a regular chap, just doing that. I'm not sure we actually kissed, but that's sangria and several bottles of other beers and wines and so forth going down, but, you know, just regular stuff. Now, wheelchair sports, and this is right at the end, next page please. I very briefly, getting on a bit in my 40s and so forth, was played wheelchair tennis. Now, this is one game where they only alter one rule. It's just one rule, and you made Wimbledon off now and back into Wimbledon. I think you'll probably see some wheelchair tennis if you're still watching it. So they play on any surface. I've never played on grass myself, but other surfaces play on carpets and whatever. I weren't good, I'll tell you. You know, I could have put a glass eye to sleep how I played. However, as it says here, I also played for 3 or 4 rather inglorious years. Only one change has to be played, and that is that you, as a running player in a wheelchair, you may, if you wish, to take one more bounce. The first bounce must be in court, and the next one doesn't have to be, and you come back, and that is the only rule change. Now, a lot of those are the top end, and you might just see them at end of Wimbledon playing. They're really good. They very rarely do. They're playing it just the same, just as fast. The wheelchairs, if you look at those, at the top one shows that space, they're really, really got an angle on those wheels, haven't they? You know, look at anybody got a day chair here that's straight. Those are at an angle. And there's a reason for that, is that the turning circle just almost goes round on itself. So you can turn around so quickly. But that's where the mantra came from, is that in life I just thought, I just might need a little bit of extra help. Opening a door, lifting a bag, buying a beer, don't take me down. That help is, in brackets, the bounce. But I need to make that decision myself, and I think everybody's up the same. I think you must make that decision yourself if you need some help. So just going to that last slide, please, is in life, I've tried to follow the same principle. Take that second bounce if it's needed. Otherwise, play on. And thank you for listening. All right,